Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our regular meeting of the Board of Adjustment. The board was created by the city charter to hear applications for variances from the zoning ordinance requirements and to hear and render decisions on interpretations of the requirements of the zoning ordinance. The board consists of 5 voting members. It requires 4 affirmative votes for approval of any variance or interpretation. All cases on the agenda will be heard in the order listed. The order of proceeding for each case shall be as follows. Applicant shall present his case. Persons in favor of the variance shall present their evidence. Persons opposed to the variance shall present their evidence. The applicant shall be given a rebuttal period, and then the public hearing will be closed and no further testimony will be accepted. The normal procedure is that the board will discuss and take action on the application. All meetings of the board are open to the public. Anyone in the audience who thinks for any reason will speak before the board tonight, please stand and take the oath. Good Lord. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth in all matters pertaining to the cases before this Board of Adjustment? Please say, I do. Thank you. Please be seated. So the roll call tonight. Gene Ogle. Here. Tim Watkins.
Here.
John Davies.
Here.
Robert Jones. That's me here. All right. No, I don't. I think it says here that, maybe, but anyway, it has to, 4 affirmative votes. In other words, all of us have to vote. Okay, the first on the case number 19999-13, and I'm not sure how you pronounce. Is it Sai? And is that Jita? Jita. Okay. A variance request to the sign requirements for the property at 2400 South Highway 291. And I guess we do the video first.
Yes, this applicant wants to add a new 21 square foot sign to existing 59 square foot, 10.5 foot tall monument sign. The applicant seeks to add Baskin-Robbins signage to the side of this freestanding sign. This addition will do 2 things: expand the non-conforming sign height and encroach into the setback requirement. So in short, the applicant requests 2 variances. The expanded sign will encroach 1.5 feet into the 5-foot exterior setback, and he needs a variance of 2.5 feet for the additional height. So this is the existing sign. As you can see, it right at 10.5 feet right now, the portion that's there. And we will so we're looking southeast and looking south down 291, and you can see the Arby's, the shopping center across the road, 291 north, the church property to the north of that, the Dunkin' Donuts space right there, and the adjacent Denny's restaurant. And I'll give you another perspective of the sign here. This is looking a little closer, see where it is in the other signage that the business already has on its facade, and where it is in relation to its distance from the right-of-way and from a 291 highway.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, do we have someone here that represents the owner that would care to speak before the board up at the podium? And just give us your name and address, please.
This is Sai Jita. My address is 14616 Neiman Road, Overland Park, Kansas 66221.
Yeah, bring it, there you go. All right, okay, so why don't you give us a little information on what you're trying to do there at your business?
Can I hand you some things?
Yeah, sure you can. Okay, you got all kinds of. Okay, this is the. Here's this 4 feet.
So my request is too loud. So my request is to add Baskin Robbins to the existing Dunkin' space, so we can make the project work better than what it is right now. So we are trying to utilize the existing Dunkin' space, the lobby space, and shuffle a few things and add Baskin to it. So which brings us to the requirement of adding a sign in front of the building so people know there's a Baskin inside. So we looked at the existing monument sign and we are trying to add Baskin onto it. We looked at different options, trying to raise the height of the bar, which was not feasible in terms of cost, in terms of the complexity and things like that. So the simplest and easiest way was to tag on the Baskin Robbins sign onto the front of the sign. So there are two options. We can put a bar in front and hang it on the top, or like on the first picture I gave you, we can just take the Baskin Robbins to the existing Dunkin' sign. So there are multiple options for that. When we initially put the Dunkin' sign, we didn't have the flexibility like the competitors around my store had, because everybody had a pole sign. And we were told they were grandfathered in, so we didn't get approved for a pole sign.
We have a lot of
Sorry.
some interference here. Go ahead.
So we didn't get approved for a pole sign at that time. We were only approved for a monument sign. But if you look at the third page on the pages I gave you, you'll see my competitor next door has a Denny's sign, which is a big pole sign. And the last two sheets I handed you shows the view from both the north side and the south side of the sign. With the parking on both sides of the sign, the visibility of the monument sign completely gets blocked. So whether you raise the sign up or down, that sign will still be blocked with the cars around it. But if you have the Baskin Robbins as we proposed, none of the car parkings would block that visibility. That's fine. So I gave you the pictures which shows that any car parking in my space or in the Denny's space blocks the visibility because the height is so low. And you can clearly see that the Denny's sign has no interference anywhere and anybody can see that sign. But we don't have that luxury. So getting this approved with the Baskin would help us, at least from a Baskin side of it, because even a car parked in front of the sign would not block the Baskin Robbins sign. But if we try to raise the Dunkin' sign and put a Baskin at the bottom, cars parked on either side of the sign would block that visibility. So that's my request, to allow this Baskin Robbins to be added on the side rather than at the bottom or at the top, because that blocks the visibility that we have right now. And regarding the setback, I'm not sure, but when we had this presented in 2012 for the monument sign, the front setback was 7 feet and the back of the sign was 15 feet. So that's what we are at right now. And I think so the front line of the sign is 7 feet from the property line, and the back line of the sign is 15 feet from the property line. And I think those requirements changes in 2016 after we got the sign in there. So hopefully adding this Baskin Robbins will not impact the setbacks.
Okay. So what you're saying is you have just that's about your only choice as far as where you're going to put the sign. You can't really put another separate Baskin-Robbins sign there and you want to use the one that's there, but you can't put it where you have listed businesses underneath it, right?
That's right. There
So-
are multiple reasons for that. One is cost, one is complexity, and one is the visibility. Like in the pictures, any car parked on either side completely blocks what we put there. If we didn't have those parking spaces, probably that would have been okay. But with so many parking spaces on either side of the sign, completely blocks that view.
So in other words, you can't, with the trees you say there and cars, you wouldn't be able to see the sign if they put it down on the ground or whatever,
Right. Yeah.
where it was, the monument was flat and then you built up from that, okay. Well, we looking at the city's comments, well, I'm just going to read one, maybe one or two of the determination, they call it, of practical difficulties and particular hardships. And they have 6 what they call criteria or items that they, and on one they say the requested variance arise from the conditions. This is what's the city answers this particular, it's on all their forms, but number 1 says, which are unique to the subject property and are not ordinarily found in the same zoning district, that are not a result of the owner's intentional action. No monument signs for multi-tenant buildings, and this is from the city staff, advertising in the same sign cabinet or with stacked cabinets are common in this zoning district. The proposed tacked-on Baskin-Robbins sign will not be in keeping with the appearance of the M291 corridor. And then I'm just going to go down to number 3. It says requiring strict compliance, and they just say no. That's one of their, and then they give the reason why. And then on number 3, requiring strict compliance with subject zoning regulation will constitute a practical difficulty for the subject property owner. And then it says no. This is from the city staff. The applicant could install a new sign advertising the second use in the Dunkin' Donuts space on one new or a stacked cabinet sign within the required exterior setback. So what you're saying is you don't have much of a choice as far as what you can do there, as far as you don't have anything that you can add on the facade of the buildings that tells the businesses there. And you really can't, the sign that you have there is not really set up to where you can put Baskin-Robbins in that same.
Right. If I had a pole
panel.
sign like all of the businesses in that area have, then I would have so much flexibility to add something below it. But since I don't have a pole sign, I have a monument sign, but every competitor in my area has a big pole sign like you can see in the picture. Dennis sign is clearly visible from anywhere you see, but we don't have the flexibility, so our only choice is to stick on front instead of trying to stick something below, which we don't have space for.
And then I see down the street or down the highway just next door to you all is Denny's, and they have a big,
Right, exactly.
huge, tall
Yep. And if you see the Dennis
sign, and you don't have where you could put anything. You don't have a pole.
Right, exactly. And from
So I don't
the
know.
picture I took from the Dennis side, you see the truck in front of my sign. The truck belongs to the owner or the manager of the store, and he parks that every day in front of my sign, trying to block my view. So I have no choice. I can't take his truck out of his parking lot, but he blocks my sign every day.
And so what you're saying is you don't have a whole lot of options. Is that what you're telling me?
Right, yeah.
On the very first part of the front page of from the cities on your application, it says the applicant requests to add a new 21 square foot sign to the existing 59 square foot 10 by 5 foot tall monument sign. And then it says the 2-unit retail structure located at the same address, 2400 South Highway 291, that the current contains a drive-through Dunkin' Donuts and a monument sign that only advertises for Dunkin' Donuts space. The other tenant space has no free standing sign. So in other words, they don't have any sign at all right now, you're telling
Right,
me.
yeah, we didn't request for that even when we had a tenant there.
And then they say here, I'm going to read, in short, the applicant requests 2 variances. The expanded sign will encroach 1.5 feet into the 5-foot exterior setback, and a 2.5 foot variance for the sign to be 10.5 feet in height. Is it Brian, are you handling this, or
Yes.
is the sign there now is
That-
10-foot sign?
Right, but you're expanding the legal nonconformity, so you need a
Okay.
variance for the height of the new portion.
So in other words, you got a height, even if you add this on, you still have you encroach, you're still gonna be above the 8 foot, right?
Right, so you have to get a variance for that portion being above the 8 foot, this new
Okay.
expanded portion.
And it's roughly to the top of the sign right now, from the base, is it 10 foot now?
10 and a half, yes.
10 and a half to the top of it.
Yes,
Okay, and then this would be,
Well, that's 10.5 to the top of the Dunkin' Donuts sign.
Yes.
Not the Baskin Robbins sign.
well,
Baskin Robbins was gonna be
well, I mean, it would be,
considered the same sign.
it depends if he does this one that had the,
So we can do either, whichever you are comfortable with. We can do the one in the black and white or the color.
yeah. So, actually, there may be about a foot difference there. And you probably don't need the whole 10 and a half feet, but that would cover your bases.
It
So-
definitely will be less
Right.
than the height of the Dunkin' sign. Baskin would be below that height.
you mean lower a little bit, is that what you're saying, on the, where
No,
it
I'm
adds on?
saying, I'm saying it's probably, it's overkill probably to get the variance for 10 and a half, because he won't make that exactly even with the existing 10 and a half
So he's not
portion
gonna,
of the
he's
sign.
not gonna
so-
go any further height,
Right.
right? Okay, so that wouldn't be part of the problem then. The other part is just where it encroaches over on the,
Right, the aesthetics that you have this additional appendage
okay.
and a pattern that's different than what's along the street, and this is an additional encroachment into the right-of-way,
So
or toward the highway.
is it actually in the right-of-way now? It's not.
I
in the-
don't mean the right-of-way, I
But
mean
it's the side-
encroachment toward the right-of-way.
Encroachment towards the right-of-way.
The
but it's
right-of-way
not-
is way out,
So it's not in the right-of-way even now?
no.
So it's clears
The right-of-way is about 5 feet from the edge of the existing sign,
so
I think.
from the base of it, it's about 5 feet to the actual state highway right-of-way line?
So the property line is about 7 feet from the edge of the existing.
Yeah, that's right, 7 feet, yeah.
7 feet.
So the variance, yeah, he's
So,
correct.
so it would be, the size of this is 4 foot and 8 inches, or a little less than 5 feet, right?
Right,
And then the height is 60 inches or 5 feet, right? That's what I read here on.
you mean from the ground? You have to, your
Not from the
height,
ground,
your
from-
height is from, but your height figure is
But
figured
it'll
from the
be-
ground,
it'll
not
be
the
almost
height of
as
your
high,
face.
Oh, does anybody else have any questions here? This is a little bit of a, in other words, are you just trying to, of course, keep your costs down? I understand that. And really, you don't have any room to put in another, are you all trying to have them build another monument sign? Is that what we're saying here, or what? I mean, I don't understand that part of it. Or can it attach to it the way it is?
We would want it either stacked or a new sign cabinet that incorporated both in some manner, but rather than something that's just an adjunct.
So you don't want the add-on type feature, is that what we're saying? The city doesn't?
Yeah.
This is a little different what we run across usually. We don't, and you have the sign, but you can't really do anything with the sign as far as making it where he has a cabinet sign where he can add the different businesses there, because it wasn't built that way, right?
I mean, when it was originally came up here, you know, like I said, this is like the report says, this is a 2-tenant building, although this second business is actually part of this same tenant space. So that empty tenant space still doesn't have any signage for itself as part of the, generally, when you have a multi-tenant building, the assumption is your monument sign is going to have different spaces for those multiple tenant spaces that they can, whoever comes in, moves in and out over time can change their nameplate and add themselves to that monument sign.
The Baskin Robbins sign, like I showed in the black and white copy in front of you, once we add it on to the Dunkin' sign, hopefully it won't look like an add-on, but it'll be like one big piece, because there won't be a space in between the Baskin Robbins sign and the Dunkin' sign. It'll be clubbed together, so it'll be one big piece with an angle on the side,
It'd be more like an L shape or whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it, rather than a.
rather than two pieces here.
Now, on the other, I see here where the sign, I guess, looking north, on the other side of the tree, the tree that's there, you can't even hardly see the sign there.
Exactly, that's my biggest challenge
And
right
on
now.
the other way, going south, you can see it easily there, but not on, if you're coming north and you look there, you really don't see it. Isn't that right?
That is right, yeah. Even on the
I'm not very easy anyway.
Even if you're going south, right now behind the car on the back there's a drive-through sign that's getting blocked right now. So as Brian was recommending, trying to put something below that sign will even get blocked further. So it won't
And if
help.
you put it lower, it's going to be even worse as far as seeing it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, anything we put below that sign, right now there's a drive-through sign that you can't even see in the picture. So anything in that area, if you try to put Baskin Robbins, you won't see that sign. So yeah, my challenge from the beginning has always been, I am at a disadvantage compared to all my competitors. They all have a pole sign. I never had a pole sign. So I'm hopefully trying to get at least this one approved, so it'll help me bring my evening business up compared to what slow it is right now in the afternoons.
Do you all have any other, Tim, or do you have any questions?
Well, we're
Do we have
having a
anybody-
discussion when we probably should be listening.
Yeah, we have more
People-
testimony here. Do we have anyone else here that wants to speak in behalf of the applicant? Okay. Your name
Hi,
and
I'm John Scott.
John
and
Scott, okay.
I represent Baskin Robbins.
Okay,
And that was actually my idea to bring that off to the side. When I first got there and I was looking at the power lines above, you know, and dealing with Dunkin', they're kind of particular about attaching to their signs. And in looking at the setback from the highway, you know, Denny's was probably 8 feet farther to the street. I didn't have the property lines or know anything about that. I said, well, they're way out there. We can take 4 feet or 4 feet 8 maybe, and just make a little mini pole sign and just attach it like that. But of those 6, it's like 3 or 4 of them shot that down because they wanted everything stacked. I suppose it could be stacked. We could put one underneath, but it would definitely be blocked. In any car that was parked there, you wouldn't even be able to know there was an ice cream shop there. And then, of course, there's the power lines up above I was concerned about. They're not directly under it, and I don't know what the distance is you have to be away from it. It looks like they're probably 4 feet, 5 feet, something like that, away the whole monument is. But when this all came about, we've been working on this for about 2 years. First, we had to convince Dunkin', because Si has been struggling in that place for a while. So
Okay.
we came to add the extra revenue that would
Okay.
help him stay.
sure, okay.
That was it.
From what you're saying is you really don't have too many choices here as far as what will
Not to
work.
have any exposure at all, yeah.
In other words, or start over again, and your cost is going to be to build a new sign you're talking about. It's called money.
It's a lot, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I should have started with you guys. I didn't realize that I would, run into this if we started with you after we got Duncan to say okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was the thing before we had and spent the money and had the sign company come out and draw this up. We got the architectural plans. Everything's done, but we should have started with
Now,
you.
is the business in there now? Is the basket, but
No,
you
we
are,
hadn't even begun.
you haven't even begun yet, the
No.
renovation and for the business in there, but
Yeah.
that's coming after
Everything's
you.
set but this, and that's why I was saying I should have started here, because
Right.
if the signs, if we got shot down on the signs, there's no reason to do the business.
Right,
He's just gonna spend a bunch of money and he'll do a little bit, and then in 2 or 3 years, he'll shut it down. I mean, that's what I would do if I wasn't doing the numbers. And
okay.
just the product itself, being an impulse type food, if we don't have signs, we just fail. I mean, that's, people don't just wake up saying, I want ice cream today, you know, they see our sign or
Right.
they see an advertisement, so they're just,
It has to be there where where the public can see it when they drive by.
yeah.
Yeah, otherwise, they're not gonna know it's there,
They're
really.
not gonna think about it, yeah.
Yeah.
Signage is important for any business that deals
Anybody.
with the general public.
Yes, sir.
The problem is, if you have a vacant space in that structure right now, and you go and you dogleg that thing on the side, where's the other sign gonna go when that new business moves in the other one? You're gonna dogleg it on the other side? At some point, it's gonna look like a big hodgepodge, you know, something you used to see down around the Ozarks back in the 70s. You know, it's one of those things that, you know, I know it's more financially feasible to do this. The problem is, when you get into this, if you restructure the cabinet and you do it in a way that's conducive to what you have to deal with, and of course, yeah, you'll probably need a variance as far as height a little bit or width or whatever. But I think you'd be better served in the long run. And whoever owns that piece of property, that building, probably should have thought of that. But, you know I would have if it would have been one of mine. But, you know, this just, you know, for some reason, this just doesn't seem quite right to me. I mean, like I said, I get the financial end of it. I'm with you on that, but the aesthetics of it just isn't quite right. And, you know, I mean, what are the cost differences between doing this and then redoing a new cabinet and doing it right?
And
Has anybody run the numbers on that?
well, I know what a pole sign costs, yeah.
Yeah.
I do know what a pole sign costs, and yeah, it's
Well,
about,
a pole sign's a whole different ballgame now.
We're looking.
you mean
know.
redoing the monument?
You'd be doing kind of a monument with the, where you have the different,
But we can't really go any higher though, can we? If we've already
You
maxed
know, I mean,
that out.
you'd be hard pressed to go too much higher.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, I mean, it's one of those things, you're kind of between the rock and the proverbial hard place.
Yeah.
And I get it, but it's just, you know, I don't know, it's just a weird thing. I don't ever recall us ever having anything quite like this.
did you want to
It,
say something, Brian?
Did you see the flag mount then off of the Duncan?
Yeah, I saw that picture.
Yeah, that was, the sign company did that. He just come up with that on his own. I said, for one, I don't think Duncan's gonna allow us to leech onto him there. And, well,
Well, how would something like that work as far as the structural integrity
yeah,
of
they'd have to
the
put steel underneath
the
it.
cabinet itself, the existing cabinet?
Right.
So,
Did you have a comment?
Yeah, you mentioned things similar to this in the past. I think it wasn't for multiple businesses. It was for one business, but sort of the same issues that they're bringing up is what you dealt with the new Red Lobster sign that was on Nolan Road.
I remember that
You know, we
one.
don't allow pole signs, of course, anymore south of I-70 on Nolan Road. But that monument sign
You're right, we did
Would-
end
would-
up going
would-
up
you-
quite a
we-
bit because of the
you-
U-Haul
Because the
situation.
car's parked on either side of that sign,
Right.
so, you know,
So there is some flexibility as far as height, we just can't
I
go
mean,
with the pole.
the variance request was for height issue and for, well, sign
Right,
requirements, period. So, I mean, that's an option, trying to go up and get over the height of the cars enough to where you can see it.
is that something you guys have considered? If you could do it?
You mean put it higher?
Go up a little higher and reconfigure your signage to go a little higher, and then that way parked vehicles would not necessarily cause you grief?
Going with the height, we still have to do the stress testing to make sure that what we have works. If not, we have to replace the whole thing because the pole is not too tall enough. Because trying to redo the whole thing, that's a variance anyhow. We are going over on the height variance, but trying to tag on to the side, we are trying to keep the height down. It's only going into the east side of the building. So I thought that will be more less way, or going that way is less variance than going in a totally big height for the height variance. So I don't know, I'll leave it up to you guys, but trying to stack up something at the bottom with so many things that we have to consider: the stress testing of the existing sign, the cost, whether we can use the same thing or we have to redo the whole thing. We don't know that yet, and there'll be so much height, and there are power lines going on top of the sign, so that might impact that as well. So there'll be a lot of changes and a lot of cost involved, and our whole purpose was to save cost and make some money.
Well, you don't, is there something that you can possibly, what we call, change it or a little bit and maybe try to make it, I just don't know how you could, you say you want to go to this, to the side where you just, I guess you call it on the east side of the sign there, but it just looks, I guess the city's wanting something that looks more where you have the panels or whatever you call it, which you don't have there. You don't have so you're kind of limited there, aren't you?
That's right. We don't have that option right now. And to the question from Tim about
Oh my
the
gosh.
tenant space, we had a tenant for the last 3-4 years, and we specifically told them when they're coming to rent our property that they're not going to get a sign. So that's where we are trying to stick to. Even if we get a new tenant, we won't ask for a sign. That's the requirement. They get a building sign, but not a monument sign. So that's why we're asking for this sign alone, and we don't want to add another sign on top of it. So
Does Dunkin' Donuts, would Dunkin' Donuts agree to change their sign?
as long as the look, feel, the size are all the same, then they won't mind, but they still cost, right? So they will look at my cost numbers and say, is this feasible or not feasible? Everything boils down to numbers.
Well,
Are you all leaning toward working on having them work with staff for a redesign, or are you wanting to?
is it possible we
It
could do
would
that?
be my recommendation to request a continuance and then try to work with you. You could probably show him some examples like what we did with the Red Lobster sign and see if something along those lines would work for him. Now, you know, there again, it doesn't mean it's going to, but he can always come back in you know, next month and if they're, you know, if you guys can't come to terms, then we could go at it then. I'll put forth a motion
To continue.
to continue.
All right. So we have a motion to continue case number 19-999-13, 2400 South Highway 291.
I'll second it.
And we got a second, so we will vote. Are we ready here? Gene Ogle,
Yes.
Tim Watkins,
Yes.
John Davies, Robert Jones, yes. So we're going to continue it for a month, and maybe you all can maybe come up with something that might, where the city, where you both could live with it. That, to me, that makes more sense for right now. I mean, we're trying to work with you, believe me, we really are. But I think maybe a month from now, if you could get something that with your people there, what you could do, and where because we want you to succeed.
Well, given the circumstances, they're not ready to open for business as far as Baskin Robbins yet anyways.
And they're not ready, so you're
You're
still
probably more than 30 days out on that, so.
Okay, so July the 18th.
July 18th, yes.
So it'll be next month, meeting July the 18th. Si, is that okay? Can you?
Yeah, that's fine.
And then get with your prospective new business there next to you, and you all hopefully can find out something get with your sign people and see what their thoughts are to make it where it might work better.
So how do you want us to design it?
Is that be okay? Because we want you to be able to.
So we design it and send it to Brian, and then
And you get with Brian and the staff, and get with
So if the
Stuart
staff
and
is-
all about what you all want to, what they would possibly come up with and make it work for not only for you all but also for them.
so if they're okay with it, do we still have to come here, or?
Yeah, you just would be coming back on July the 18th with the same, only you would have a revised plan. Is that?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's fine. Yep, sure.
Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we'll just do that. We've already voted on it, so we'll see you next July the 18th then, at the next meeting, okay?
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
We really appreciate you coming out.
Sure, no problem. Thanks.
Thank you. The next case on the agenda tonight is case number 19-999-14, RB Architecture, Engineering, and Construction, a variance request to the setback requirements for the property at 1001 West Highway 24. And so we'll do the video, and then we'll have the person speak on behalf of the applicant.
Okay, the applicant requests a variance for an external setback in order to construct a convenience store closer to the property line than the required setback along the River Boulevard side of the property. There's a sewer line and sewer easement on the southwest part of the property that I'll show you momentarily, that unless he were to redesign the building or turn it or something or make it smaller, he would not be able to, he wouldn't be able to place it on the property because there wouldn't be room given that easement on the southwest part of the property. So in short, he needs a variance of 11 feet. So here we're looking at the south part of the property. The building would sit like approximately right here, and well, actually about 15 feet farther north because there would be a landscape buffer. So we're looking south here at the existing fence line.
Okay.
Yeah, there you can see the rear area of the property where the existing pumps area and convenience store is located would be mainly the parking lot and new pumps area. And if you're familiar with where the car wash used to be,
And that's where we're.
that's approximately where this would, but this would be sitting closer to the road
Okay.
than that old car wash building had in the past.
Okay.
Oh, and
You want to go to the The north, I guess.
We reviewed this, and staff sees that he appears to have met all 6 of the criteria
Right.
in our eyes.
Okay. All right, do we have someone here to represent the ownership, the applicant?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Riyad Baghdadi. I'm with RB Architecture Engineering, address 10107 West 105th Street, Overland Park, Kansas.
Okay. And you all are, that was where the old convenience store was and where they had gas, right?
Correct, correct. We're tearing
Yes.
down the car wash, and we're gonna build a new C-store in that location and demolish the existing C-store
Okay.
later on.
So that's all, has that all been removed there now, or?
The car wash has been removed.
Okay, but the old
The
canopy and the,
C-store is still there.
oh, it is, and it's still gonna stay open?
Yeah, it's still open until we build the new one, and then we're gonna move into it. After we move into the new store.
Oh, I see. So
we'll
in other words,
demolish the
then you would
existing
demolish
one.
it after you build this new one, is that what you're saying?
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
And the gas pumps will stay in where
The
there
gas
are?
pump will stay.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, was there anything else that you, or this is just building a new, your new,
No, I mean, this issue is really arise from the sewer line location, you know,
Okay.
and the property is cutting the property.
okay. Well, they, one of the, well, staff comments, they had yes on all of them, so that's kind of nice, but real nice. The alleged hardship has not been created by any person presently having an interest in the property. That's their number 5 on their list criteria. Yes, this is true. The applicant is not responsible for the location of the existing sewer easement and sewer lines. So, and all the 6, what we call staff comments criteria have all been met as yeses. So I don't see any other,
I say yes to.
yeah. Does anybody else have any questions?
I don't know. Anybody else got something?
Do we have anybody else here who wants to speak on behalf of the applicant? Okay, do we have anyone here that's here to speak against the applicant? Oh, okay. Well, we can close this meeting, close this case, can't we? This particular,
Close the public
public
hearing.
hearing, Okay. So what do you think, guys? I don't have any problem with it.
No calls to staff.
No calls at all concerning this.
I move we approve.
Okay. So do I have a motion that we approve? You want us? Well, I thought you were going to say the case number, but that's okay.
Oh, I'll say the case number if you'd like. I move we approve case number 19999-14, 1001 West 24 Highway.
And we have you so moved, you got a second from Gene, all right. So, we will vote. Gene Ogle,
I vote yes.
Tim Watkins,
Yes.
John Davies, Robert Jones, yes. So, case number 19-999-14, RB Architecture, Engineering, and Construction has been approved. Thank you. Okay, the next case on the agenda tonight is case number 19-999-15, James Bullard, a variance request to the minimum lot and flag lot requirements for the property at 1780 North L.C. Smith Road, and we have the video here to show. Okay. Well, it's all country out there,
Oh, yeah, it looks pretty.
but I'm trying to find it on it. There you go.
There we go. I got it together here. Okay. The applicant here's, this is on L.C. Smith Road, 1780 North L.C. Smith Road. Applicant requests a variance to plat the northern portion of a earlier illegal lot split into two new lots. The applicant wasn't responsible for the earlier lot split from the southern portion, so that property is not part of this application. It's just the current property that's owned by the applicant. With having about 356 feet of frontage, there isn't enough for two lots.
Right.
And the applicant would like to have two lots along this road. The smaller lot is going to have 286 feet of frontage, or that's what the applicant's requesting. So that would leave 70 feet for a neck, a corridor of property that would go back to where the property fans out larger, as well as wraps around the applicant's southeastern lot. That will be 3 acres. This other lot, this larger lot that needs the variance, would have the remainder of that acreage on the property. So this lot is about 1,300 feet deep, but at that neck up by the road, only 70 feet wide, meaning that it is, by definition, a flag lot and a lot that doesn't meet the depth to width ratio of 4:1 that's required by code. So, in essence, the applicant seeks 3 variances, one for the frontage that's less than the 240 required, being only at 70 feet, and the ratio not meeting the 4:1, as well as the fact that it is a flag lot. Okay. Let's see. We are looking north up L.C. Smith Road.
Okay.
South. Okay. So
it's over.
this is the neighboring property to the east,
Okay.
and then going back around to the property, and we're at the south end of the property here. So this is the southeast corner of the property in question, where the car is down there,
Okay.
and the road is more toward the northeastern corner, toward the property that's to the northeast that this one wraps around. Yep. How did that happen?
I didn't get the-
There we go. Here we go. Is this yours? And let's see. Okay. No.
that's the key.
Oh, here we go. Okay. This is from the south end of the or the north end of the property. This is to the neighbors across to the east. This is looking south down L.C. Smith, and this is
the
where
property
the
here,
driveway would be.
That's where the,
This is where the
property-
70 feet is,
okay,
right there, where that gravel road is.
okay.
So, there we go. staff in its review. It says the request meets 5 of the 6 above stated hardships, in our opinion, so.
Okay, all right. All right, so, do we have someone here representing the applicant? And your name and
Jed
address.
Boffman with Powell CWM, 3200 South Route State 91, Building 1 in Independence.
Okay,
My name is James Bullard, 218 Southwest 20th
Okay.
Terrace, Oak Grove, Missouri.
okay. Well, do you want to go over what you're all trying to do there and
Well, what he's trying to do is take what's
or
existing.
what he's trying to do?
James is the applicant. We are the land surveyor trying to put together the variance and the minor plat in the future if the variance passes. What he wants to do is end up selling or building 2 lots into single-family properties, correct?
Correct. I am the applicant. I have not purchased the property yet. It's dependent upon the approval of the variance.
Okay,
And essentially, just wanting to create a small, single-home residence in a 3-acre lot, and then the larger one would be built on by me also in the future.
okay. All right. Is there anyone else here that cares to speak on behalf of the applicant? I don't have any other questions as far as you met 5 of the 6. You did on number 2, the requested variance will not adversely affect the rights of the adjacent property owners or residents. No, the other properties along the corridor would have to adhere to the frontage, lot ratio, and flag lot provisions. But we had some others here just recently. I know that we had approved. It was 70 foot. It was a flag lot that was out in the country. So we've done it before. It's not something we've never done.
Do we have any opposition?
Do we have any opposition here tonight? It's so what are you talking about? The whole group? So do you have a spokesman here? I mean, I don't think we can have everybody speak.
And we can, but we're gonna take lots of bathroom breaks.
Yeah. So give us your name and
My name is Dawn Zacco. I am a resident at 1512 North Elsie Smith Road. That's south of the location. And while I welcome new friends and neighbors into the neighborhood and love to have people come out and join our neighborhood, in 1996, I believe, it might have been 95, I kind of went by some building dates of some other houses that moved in. They were slotting to put a subdivision in out to the property adjacent of ours, south of ours. And at the time, I think it was, if I'm recalling correctly, there was like 10 houses on 13 acres. So it was very small amount clustered in. And the developer at the time was rallying the neighborhood to try to present this whole opportunity for a wonderful subdivision to come in. So there were some that were for it, some that were against it. And long story short, the developer was actually, as I found out at a later date, trying to create for the city, I'm going to call it a rural ordinance for the city to have opportunity for growth out in the rural, to still keep our ambiance that we have, or the country appeal that we have for people that want to live in the country on acreage. And the current code at the time was requiring him to put in, even if he had a 5-acre plot for a house for this property, so say he did a division of 3 houses on that property, he would have to have curbs in, he would have to have sidewalk in, and he would have to have lights, and I don't know what all. It was a lot of work, a lot of extra dollars for him. So he, in a roundabout way, presented it as a subdivision and putting in all these houses. That then created a code recommendation, a committee that put forth to the ordinance variance and ordinance, the actual ordinance of our code in the city charter. I think they call it open space. Am I correct? Is that what the code is now? They call it open space. Is that right? There's like residential and commercial and open space, I believe is what it's called. That's rural. I mean, that's what's considered the rural development. And I was very much part of a committee. The late Jack Gant was also part of it. Dick Davies, who was the developer at the time, was part of it. And we came up with this whole development for the rural area where it was so many deep, so many wide, so many acres to present to what the people, what people would like to have when we move out to the country. I know I took a lot of time with the neighbors and talked to them individually, saying, okay, you know, what's acceptable to you, what's not acceptable, and we went through a lot of trouble, a lot of time of my personal time was spent developing and helping to give a recommendation that would be put forth in the city, for the city. So while I don't want any subdivisions out there, one of the things that was a big issue to us is if you go to the south end of our properties out there at Bunshoe and Elsie Smith, one of the things that was not an appealing factor was prior to this code, there were houses that were placed on the property which were on small acreages, and they were very close together, very clustered. And it was not appealing to the vast majority of people that lived and were out in the area. We like to have space. That's why we moved out to the country. You know, it's zoned agricultural. It is I'm able to have my livestock if I want to. If I want to put a hog confinement building up there, I should be able to put a hog confinement building up there. There's crops on the other side, you know, so we are very rural. You can see by the pictures, it's very rural. And when we allow the variances, as you must have done in the past, it opens the door. It opens the door to creating an area that is not what we what we are looking for as a rural community. It was annexed, and it hasn't had sewer development. We don't have cable development. We don't have a lot of city factors in there, and so we are rural. And I would hope that you would consider the fact that because of that, the time and the effort and the work that we did to come up with these ideas, we had a reason. If you don't live out there, you don't understand it. But we had a reason why we created that and what it was created. We had developers, we had architects out there, we had people that were farming people out there, we had Jack Gant, myself. I think there was like 8 of us on the committee that sat together, and then each of us went out to the neighborhoods and talked to the people. What do we want this area to be? What do we want it to look like? So while I welcome neighbors, I would appreciate if we would stick with the ordinances that we have in place. Thank you.
Do we have anyone else who cares to speak?
I'm Dan Hildebrand. My address is 12381 Southeast Guilford Drive, Milwaukee, Oregon. The property that I acquired on North Elsie Smith Road was because it was rural. The property lines are contiguous, and we share the property line for this variance request. It's 18.5 acres is what we acquired last year. We didn't move to that part of the city because we wanted neighbors close by. We've got plenty of neighbors, these neighbors right here. We've got 72 signatures on a petition asking for this to be denied. We don't understand how it could meet 5 of the 6 criteria. And what we don't understand is why you would approve something when the criteria findings say that all of the following conditions have to be met. We don't mind, and what I understand in talking to neighbors, that there's precedent been set in the last few years about requests for subdividing these properties and them being turned down and saying no. So the intent here is to, to maintain the area, and these fine people here, plus a lot of others that couldn't show up for health reasons or whatever out of town, are trying to maintain that area. I'm new. We've got another couple here that are new, that are building right across the road of 20 acres. The idea is to have a part of a community that maintains its rural nature. Thank you.
All right, do we have anyone else that cares to speak that's opposed to this application, applicant? Okay.
I just was going to say, my name's Ron Dankerbrain, I live 1414 North Elsie Smith Road. And my only question is I agree with everything that was been said, but I have one question. Isn't there a zoning ordinance out there that you have to have 10 acres, at least 10 acres, to put septic system in?
No.
There isn't?
No,
I
it's
thought
3
that's what
acres
it
or
was.
more. It has to be 3 acres or
Well,
more.
then I was told wrong then, because that's what they
Yeah,
said, all that
no,
area
it's-
out there was supposed to be 10 acres.
It's 3 acres. You have to have at least 3 acres. But 10 acres is not a requirement to build a house on a
Okay,
rural lot.
that's all I want to know, because that's what I heard once.
If it's residential under 300-2, it's a 3 acre. If it's an open space development, it's a 5 acre. That's what it says. That's your ordinance.
I don't know what.
It's a standard zoning, it's not an open space.
I don't know how, I don't know how.
It's
you-
RA?
It is RA.
A standard RA zone.
Okay.
Okay. Does the applicant want to speak? Why don't you all come up separately? You don't have to come up together. If you come up and then you can, it'd be better.
I guess the concern is about this opening a kind of a door to turning this area into a small single-family development. That is not the intent of the owner, or not the intent of the applicant. And you already have some non-conforming tracts that do not meet the minimum width or lot size in that area. I just don't see how this really affects it. I mean, there's the concern about a possible future development. You don't have sewer there, so you can't do a single-family residence. That would be way too much infrastructure for anyone to even consider doing. Our client went about this the right way, and he, came to the city, asked for help, asked what he needed to do if he was going to purchase this property and potentially build 2 single-family homes on it. So I understand the concerns of the neighbors. It's just that is not his intent to ruin this rural area at all.
Okay. All right. Is it James Bullard? Or did you want to speak, or do we have anyone else what do we do here? Do we just go ahead and ask there anybody else that's against it, or is that it? We've done that, so that's all we have to listen to. Okay. Okay. All right. That's right. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yes. Yes. Hi. I'm Rita Blankenship. I live at 1800 North Elsie Smith Road, directly.
Matt?
More? Okay. Directly north of the property in question.
Okay.
And I know that they were saying that only 2 houses would be built on this section of property, but on a day when the family was there looking at the property, the son left, and my husband and I were on the porch, and my husband and I was there, excuse me, and I was there, and my husband asked me, "Are you buying the property?" to the father, and he said, "No, but my son put a down payment on it, and he wants to put 3 to 5 acre lots." And that's after he put the down payment on it. And so on the video where the drive is right there, our house is directly next to the fence on the other side. This is a sloping hill down to we're at the bottom of the hill. There's, I think, maybe more problems with runoff and water going into the creek that could be contaminated. I mean, it's a possibility, especially if it opens up them putting more than one house later on. Maybe not now. Who's to say what he's going to do? But thank you for listening. That's
Thank you.
all I have
Thank
to
you
say.
for coming. Well, we need to decide what we, that is the end of the public hearing. We're going to close that part of our, and decide what we want to do here. So- you met with the applicant met all but one of the, and then number two, the determination of practical difficulty will not adversely affect the rights of the adjacent property owners or residents. No other properties along the corridor would have to adhere to the frontage lot ratio and flag lot provisions of the code. Is this something that, I'm just asking you all, is this something that we've approved before, isn't it? I mean, are the city, I should say, on other, I'm not calling these big developments, I mean just on lot splits. Have you had any others like this particular one here recently, or within, I'm just asking you, Brian, or Stuart?
I mean, we've had lot splits in the past that you've granted variances on, and there have been ones that have been denied.
And remember, what you're voting on is about the variances as applied for by the applicant, not what he may do in the future. It's what's
right.
on this form
Right.
that he's applied for.
Okay.
So remember to focus on those
Okay.
issues.
Okay. Well, it appears that the city has all but one on the number two, the request for variance. We're not voting on whether they're going to do 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, correct? That's not our call here. Tim, do you have any, what do you call it? We're just talking. Discussion now.
Well, I would, I can understand these folks' concerns. If it was more of an equitable split of the property, but you're taking a little 3-acre chunk and that leaves, 15.37. So I can understand their concerns on this. The 70-foot part doesn't bother me. I've seen properties like that where you have an access way or an easement, but I understand their concerns. I also see what he's considering doing here. But it's one of those things. I understand what they're wanting, and having had acreage and growing up with the family I've had that's had all kinds of farmland, I can get what they're saying about liking being out in the country and enjoying peace and solitude. Nothing against neighbors, but so.
But we're looking at something here.
I have no questions.
Comments?
I think this is.
Did you have any other comments or anything? I mean, questions?
No.
Gene, what about you, John? We're not talking. We're talking here about a. Where we've done this before, and the city says, okay, you can do this, but then you got people out there that don't want, and I understand where you all are coming from, but by the same token, you all don't own the land. There is a difference here. I mean, I'm not trying to be, I'm just saying that a lot of things go on in this country that people, and you're right as to, you can petition, you can do this and that, but when you don't own the property, sometimes I wonder if one person that doesn't own the property, or that don't own the property, can say, okay, we're not going to let anybody else in here do something with their own land, and they meet the criteria of the city. Now, I'm just speaking from for myself. I'm not trying to jam anything down anybody's throat, but we're looking at here where they met 5 of the 6 items, and only one would be, but I'm not sure we're going to look at this all the way up and down this L.C. Smith Road. I just don't know. I mean, I can't say what'll be in the future,
Mr. Chairman,
but anyway, that's,
I'd like to make a vote, or make a motion at this time. I would vote to move that case number 19-99-15 be approved.
okay. Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
Well, yes, you got mine, and we have to have a second to get, so we can talk about it. Yes, I second it.
No.
Yes. I'm sorry, we have to have a second in order to talk about it, so I'll second it.
Well, we're talking about before we do that.
All right, but anyway, it's second.
Okay. I'm going to tell you, this
Do you
is,
want to put it off? You wanna-
I don't want to kill it, but I don't know if we just
You can vote.
We have
vote and do it?
We're now, we're ready to vote.
All right. Okay. We'll vote on the motion and, Gene Ogle,
I vote no.
Tim Watkins,
I vote no.
John Davies,
No.
and Robert Jones, no. So I presume that's the end of this particular case number. Next case. Sorry. We had too many people out. Oh, my God. Thank you, guys. You had to do what you had to do.
What?
Everything's fine. All right. We had too many people here tonight. You can't just... Nothing. I'll talk to you afterwards. Case number... The next on the agenda is case number 19-999-16, Beyond the Horizon LLC, a variance request to the lot frontage requirements for property at 20301 East Bunchue Road, and we'll do the video.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Beyond the Horizon LLC seeks variances for, from the section 14-300-05 for a minimum lot frontage, as the applicant proposed to create a property that is owned R6 with no street frontage versus the minimum street frontage of 60 feet. Okay, this property is actually surrounded by well, it's mostly farm field. It's surrounded by trees along the road. So I only could get a few shots of the field area. It's not really very good video as far as you're just looking at some trees and fields, much like the previous one. This is one of the areas that was we're looking south into the property from Bunchue Road. This is one of the areas that this is actually probably one of the areas that's going to be will be one of the lots with street frontage. Now we're looking west down Bunchue Road. That's I can't remember the name of the subdivision right offhand, but we have another video that shows that. Oh, Timber Creek Ranch, that's right. And here we're looking east down Bunchue Road.
Up the hill, you mean? Going up the hill?
Yeah.
That's east?
Going up the hill.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Okay, and we've got another one here. Like I said, these are all kind of
That's the other.
not very explainable because here we go. Here's another field. Again, we're looking south into the property from Bunchie Road. It's just tree line and some fields that have been or are farmed now.
Okay.
Again, this is the northern part where the lots are that do have street frontage. And the lot that doesn't is to the southwest of this property. And the applicant has brought in a PowerPoint presentation also that he'd like to show.
Okay. All right. Do we have someone here that I guess that is representing the owner or his representative?
Control there.
This is Randall Pratt here. West, okay. Trying to figure. Rockwell.
This is not the right one.
This is the boundary lines of lot one, what, and it says lot two, where,
Yeah, I don't see lot two. This is a stream setback. The
Yeah.
lot, I think the lot is following
this right
the
here.
meanderings of the creek, isn't it? I can't see. This is an easement.
Yeah.
I think it's showing bearings and distances. I'll have to ask them, but I couldn't
Yeah,
tell.
yeah,
They
where's
didn't have an arrow to
Did it
it.
come right straight across like this one did? Because they don't.
Well, this is lot 4. This is lot 1 here.
This is
and then
lot
the
one,
big
then
lot is
lot
lot
two.
Yeah.
And lot
lot
three
three
is gonna stay the same, not be developed right now.
right now, but you've got. I think this is the actual meanderings of the creek, which is
line.
see there's a big.
Yeah, there's a
vector.
line that goes
And
through there.
that's the creek, and I think that's
Yeah.
what they're using as the property line for lot 2, but I'm not quite sure. We'll have to ask them on that.
About that.
Okay, see if you can
Creeks
go up.
can change.
Yeah.
Well,
But,
the dotted line is,
What?
Well,
the dotted line,
well, I guess they, are you talking about the darkened part, the shaded part is floodplain? I don't.
no, the darker, the little dotted line, the little dashes, I think that's,
You mean that runs through
Oh,
the creek?
this is what they call a stream setback outer
Yeah.
zone. I think that maybe that's part of it.
That's the stream
And maybe,
setback.
okay, maybe this is part of the floodplain down in here, so that if they build, they're gonna have to build up in here. Maybe that's what that is.
you wouldn't want to build down it.
You don't wanna build down in here, it's too low.
Yeah, but if I bought the lot, where's my property line?
Well,
It's
the-
probably gonna be the creek.
I would say this is the lot line for this lot too, so you're gonna have part of the, and then you're building. or you're-
it. Cuts it right off.
Yeah, well, this, okay, the lot for this, but then this would pick up and go down like that, I think.
Yeah, well, that's actually.
I think so. We'll have to ask.
Well, good
Okay.
evening. My name's Randall Pratt, P-R-A-T-T, and I'm here as the president of Beyond the Horizon LLC. I apologize. I didn't come early enough to try my jump drive with their software.
Okay,
so
and
there's
it
a
didn't work.
Yeah, there's a compatibility issue, I think, with versions
Okay.
of PowerPoint. So, but I think it's a fairly simple case. So the story begins like this. About 10 years ago, the ground that was part of a 200-acre assemblage that was Rockwell Estates, or planned to be Rockwell Estates, was foreclosed on by a bank. I don't know if you.
That was the '07 or '08,
Yes,
downturn
the
of
A
Wall
lot
Street, wasn't it?
developers lost their
so that,
position.
because they built several homes in there. It's
They
awfully-
did. There's about 160 lots, I may be off just a few, and most of those lots have been absorbed. I think there may be 2 or 3 or so vacant lots left. But it took 10 years for 46 lots, which I bought with some of the undeveloped land. It took 10 years for those 46 lots to be absorbed. So it was very slow, but that was in part because of the economy. It took a while to work through that inventory. And about a year and a half ago, it started to become feasible to consider, do we develop some more lots in that subdivision? And from my discussions with some of the members of their board, and I attended a couple of their board meetings over the years, they would really like to have additional phases of Rockwell Estates. There's 3 phases there, but it's hard to finance HOA, to maintain the swimming pool, to maintain the clubhouse, to keep all the common areas mowed, with only 160 houses paying their HOA dues to finance all of that. And the neighbors work very hard to make it a nice residential community. And I think it is a very nice residential community. Their houses on those vacant lots are just being finished now. And there has already been work done for future phases in terms of grading and storm sewer infrastructure, detention ponds, sanitary sewers that's been extended across it. So it's a good place for additional phases to occur. This particular application is because there's 2 lots that front Bunshoe Road, just on the south side of Bunshoe Road. One of the areas, which is Lot 1 in the planning, which I had a plan here to show, but it's really not important to see it. It wasn't easily developed anyway because of its location adjacent to Bunshoe Creek and some other topography that's there. So this wasn't going to be part of that development anyway. And then they put a cell tower on part of the area where there were going to be some houses. And then the 9-acre Lot 2 is on the north side of Bunshoe Creek, and it would have been isolated from the rest of the community, quite a bit of distance, because not only the creek, but there's kind of a rock bluff that drops down that physically separates it from the rest of the community. Given the time that's likely to occur to absorb future phases, it's going to be a long time in the future before those 2 lots would be developed for part of Rockwell Estates, if at all. And beyond that, I think it's helpful to some of the neighbors that are on the north side of Bunshoe Road to have some larger lot estate residentials that sort of buffers their homes from Rockwell Estates, which has higher density. Rockwell Estates are 6 now. So this is positive for the neighbors. I've not received any contact from anyone asking questions or complaining about it. I don't know if city staff has, but no one's called me. And the reason that we're coming to you with a proposal to say, well, lot number 3 has no street frontage, I would assume this is a somewhat unusual request. But the answer to that is that in future development, as that occurs, the access would be provided through 3 connection points to the roads that are planned to be extended into that area. Again, that'll be some years in the future. I would imagine that it's 5 or 10 years at least, probably longer, because phase 4 of Rockwell Estates is directly to the east. And that is south of what Lot 3 would be. So in general, we would anticipate someday, that would be my hope, we want to keep that possibility open, that Lot 3 would be part of that development. And even if it's not, the future phases would also provide access with street stubs that the city would typically require. I'm glad to provide more information, but that may be all that you need for the purpose.
Is Rockwell Estates, is that the one that's off of Jones Road in Bunshoe?
It is on the southeast corner of Jones and Bunshoe Road.
Okay, and there's a bunch of houses up in there. Is that where you're talking about most of the development?
On the north side, there's some very nice large lot homes that are on the north side of Bunshoe Road. That's right. And then Timber Creek, a subdivision, I'm going to guess that they're 1/4 acre lots. I could be wrong just by driving by. They're not. They're medium to large size.
Oh, Timber
lots.
Creek, is that the one Jim Pollard developed?
He's involved in it now. I don't know if he was the original developer or not, but he's working on it now, I know.
I was thinking it was a little bit south of Bunshoe on the east side of Jones, I think, where there's a development up in there. That's not Rockwell Estates? So is that?
Yeah, the southeast corner of Bunshoe and Jones Road.
Okay. So this is a little further east of that?
Well,
I don't quite picture it
maybe I
here.
understand the confusion. So
But it doesn't really.
Rockwell Estates, it's a little bit south of Bunshoe Road.
Mr. Chairman, if you want to look at the vicinity map, you can see the dark area where the applicant's property is. On the
Mhm.
left side here, that's Rockwell Estates.
Okay,
And then north of Bunchu is Timber Creek Ranch. And the area that one of the
oh, I
photos...
see, it's down here on kind of the south end of where they show these lots,
That's right.
800 and something or whatever it is. Are those proposed lots down there that weren't built yet, developed?
No, those are all have houses on them, or well, most of them do. There may be a
So that's
couple
all
that
developed
not.
down there, just west of what is now Lot 3, is that correct? What you show is Lot
Yes.
3 on here?
Yes.
They're down in here? This is-
Well, look at this. This is
Yeah.
the photo of the site that
Yeah,
shows
I
things.
see that, okay. So Timber, was it called Timber Creek? That's Jim Pollard, right?
I believe he was one of the original developers.
So this one, okay. I think at one time in the Rogers family, at one time I think owned that area over there where Rockwell Estates is. At one time, the Rogers.
Is there really any problem here that this looks like this is an
Yeah, pretty much, yeah, it's,
There's no problem.
yeah, I mean,
Am I missing something?
well, it's got yes on all of them, I'd say, as far as.
Well,
Is there any, did you all get any calls or anything on this?
no, actually, we didn't receive any calls on this case or the next one.
Oh, okay, Fisher, Farmstead? Well, that's the next one, you haven't looked at that one yet. Well, I don't see any issues here on this particular, case number. I mean, to me, it's pretty well self-explanatory. Do I have, I guess we can close the public hearing here, and we'll decide what we want to do here. So you all have, to me, I see it as pretty much, what do you call it? I don't like to use the word slam dunk, but it looks like to me it meets all their criteria of the city. So do we have anyone here that wants to make a motion to approve this? That's case number 19-999-16, 2002-0301 East Bunchu Road.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. So now we'll do the vote on that. Gene Ogle,
Vote yes.
Tim Watkins,
Yes.
John Davies,
Yes.
and Robert Jones, yes. So that has been approved. So case number 19-999-16, Beyond the Horizon LLC, a variance request to the lot frontage requirements for property at 2301 East Bunchu Road has been approved unanimously, 4-0. Okay, so.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm gonna take about 5 minutes.
Okay, go ahead.
Hit the head.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a long meeting tonight, pretty much, hasn't it?
Mention my name, get a good seat.
How's your son doing?
Dan's doing just fine. As a matter of fact, I think he's on his way to Florida right now.
Oh, is he? So he's doing fine?
Retired, isn't he?
Yes, sir. They're heading to Florida, and I think next week, Vonda's going down to join him. Got, some grandchildren down there and some great-grandchildren of mine, and then I've got another granddaughter that's over in Tampa, so they're all gonna get together, I think, and
That'd be nice.
send some money up to Disney World or whatever that is there over there in Orlando.
Send some money or spend some money?
Both.
I think they go
Probably
together.
Send some money for the ones that are going to go or something, huh?
If I understand right, they tell me it's $125.
Oh, I was there in let's see, we were there in Disneyland in Anaheim back in 96. Our kids were little, 1996, and it was, it seems like it was $50 to get in or something then.
10 of them going? That's over $1,000.
Yeah. $125 a piece.
It's gone up a lot.
If you think of it sometime when you see him, just tell him hello from me.
I'll do it.
Because we used to work pretty close together at the school district.
I
Oh,
didn't
did you?
know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Were you,
Well, the
were-
director of transportation and director of athletics has to
Okay.
be like this.
Well, yeah.
oh, so you used to be the director of the transportation, is that what you said?
I didn't realize that,
So,
John.
I'll be darned, I didn't know, you're talking about the bus service, is that what you're saying?
Weren't we together in some JC's years ago?
JC, you mean,
I don't know, it seemed like, I've been trying to think where it seems like I've been aware of you for a long time, and I'm trying to put together where,
no, not the JCs?
no, that's, you're not old enough for that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Probably
we're
older
just
than
kidding.
everybody.
Oh,
Bob.
but me, I'll only be 75 in October, and my wife will be 75 in
You are just kids.
August. She's the old lady, well, I don't say that usually around her, but.
Oh, yeah, and that's why I tell my wife, you're the old lady.
I-
Till
she-
October.
That's right, absolutely. Okay, so we have one more, this has been approved. We got one more. I knew tonight would be a long night, but goodness. Well, appreciate you all coming out, and we had enough for a quorum. Yeah, it's,
Yeah, I work quite a bit with Salam Stetzer too. See him pretty often.
Oh, do you?
He's a nice guy.
okay, I guess we got.
We're ready to start again?
Are you ready? Yeah, I think so. All right, last on the agenda tonight is case number 19-999-17, and that's Fisher Farmstead LLC, a variance request to the minimum lot and flag lot requirements for property at 304 South Powell Road. So I guess we show the video here.
Yeah, this applicant seeks 3 variances to divide this roughly 29-acre lot into 3 lots. Lots 1 and 2 meet the city code requirements. The lot 3 is, if you look at your drawing here, is the large lot. It needs 3 variances. The first is the lot frontage. It has only basically 100 feet of street frontage. The 4-to-1 lot width to depth ratio, depth to width ratio. It's only 99 feet wide, but over 1,300 feet deep. And again, the creation of a flag lot. Okay, with this application, I only have one video. It's pretty much the tree line along this section of the road is fairly heavy. As mentioned in the staff report, there's a house out there on the property that this is where we park here, that the applicant is in the process of rehabbing. So we're parked in the driveway of the house.
No, the house is on which lot is it on? It's not on this development?
No, it's actually on a
2?
different lot, but this is really the best vantage point
It's
I
on
could
lot
get.
2, is it? Lot 2, after they do the split and all that?
Yeah, after it's split, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we're in front of this house,
Okay.
nice red brick house,
Mm-hmm.
directly across from the mobile home park. Here we're going to be looking south down Powell
Okay,
and across the street to the mobile home park.
okay.
Oh, yeah. That's right from where we parked the bus.
Oh, gosh, I guess it's,
That's right north of you, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then up north on Powell Road, and we're now looking on this general property again. And come out here, and there's, again, much like the other property, there's a lot of area that is farmed on this
mhm.
larger, almost 30 acre tract.
That's the whole, okay. It's all 30 acres, the whole piece roughly, okay. I got you.
Yeah, if you look at the aerial photograph here, this field that we're looking at is this area up here in the northeast corner.
Okay,
We're down here about where the 304 number is where the house is.
Okay.
And we're looking to the northwest at this field. And the property that the applicant is generally down to the south of this, south and west of this. But it's similar in appearance.
okay.
Where the house is actually one of the lots. and the fields are essentially the, most of the other lots.
So the house was sitting on 30 acres, is that what? originally-
Essentially right now.
Okay, okay. All right. All right, so I guess we, into the video, and I guess we'll have our next, I guess, Mr. Pratt's gonna.
Sure, glad to.
represent.
I agree with the staff reports, very well prepared. So a little color commentary, just to understand perhaps what's happening. So I bought the property because I'm interested in the farm fields. I like the soybean fields and want that to continue. This house came with it because it's not separately platted. And so I bought it about 14, 15 months ago, had a tenant there, and they decided to move out, which was fine. They were on a month-to-month lease. And just as they were moving out, they knew someone that was looking for a place to live, and they let him move in. It wasn't just one person, it was 6 or 7 with a couple pit bulls, and there's drug use, but long story short, 3 months later, they're finally evicted, and all the wirings have been pulled out, and the air conditioners were stolen and the like.
Oh my gosh.
So because of its remote location, there's the trailer park to the east, but it's open land on the north, west, and south. And so it's difficult to observe what's happening in the home. And in my view, this should not be a rental property. It's also a nice home. It's good solid brick home, 2-bedroom, 1 bath. It would be a lovely home for someone who wants to own it and care for it well. And I think it would enhance the quality of the neighborhood if this is not a rental property, but this is owner occupied. And it needs to be on 3 acres. It's a septic system. It's not on sewer. The long-term future, and I want to stress this is really long-term, is for Jackson Drive to be extended way down from M78, crossing Truman Road, and all the way up the hill. But the city doesn't have funding for that. The city is committed to building Jackson Drive up to Truman, but then development would need to pay for the extension of Jackson Drive. So the development would start to the south, where there's also sewer access, and slowly make its way to the north, building the road as it goes. This is in the far northeast corner of all that open land. And so I don't think it's even going to be developed in my lifetime. And it would be a lovely place. The lot 1 is a hilltop. It's an 8-acre hilltop. It's beautiful views in 3 directions, maybe 4 directions. There's no sewer there, so it would have to be single-family home, but I think it would be a lovely place for someone to have their home. The 3-acre piece, it's a nice solid brick home that also has a pond in the woods next to it, and would have a beautiful view looking to the west over the pond and over the open farmland. I think it's a mile to the next row when you go over all the fields, and it's a lovely setting. And then behind it is a soybean field. Again, my interest is keeping the soybean field, most of that, and keeping it open. And I'm not sure that we could even predict when that's going to be developed, but I don't think any time
Is that part
soon.
of the lot 3, is it?
Yes, Lot 3 is the large area that, Lot 2, we've sort of drawn that in a fashion to exclude the farm field. So Lot 2 is where the house is, the woods, there's a small outbuilding or a barn and another small outbuilding and a pond. So that fits well together. And then Lot 1 is a soybean field, could be a home site, beautiful location for that. And then Lot 3 is essentially a soybean field.
Okay, well, thank you. Appreciate it, Mr. Pratt. Okay, we don't see anybody else here. No opposition, so we can close this for the public hearing. And once again, it's pretty well, yes, 1, 2, 3, 4,
No calls,
5, 6. I'd say
No
this-
calls on this case.
I'd say this is another no-brainer here.
I move we.
Do we have a motion to approve case number 19-999-17 Vischer Farmstead LLC, a variance request to the minimum lot and flag lot requirements for property at 304 South Powell Road?
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, so we'll do the vote here. Gene Ogle,
Yes?
Tim Watkins,
Yes.
John Davies,
Yes.
Robert Jones, yes. So case number 19-999-17, Fisher Farmstead LLC, a variance request to the minimum lot and flag lot requirements for property at 304 South Powell Road has been approved. All right, now we have to, I didn't look at them that close, but I think we're okay on the minutes is from the last meeting for the May the 16th. We can just do that by voice vote to approve the minutes from the last meeting on May the 16th. And we will do that by yea and nay, I guess. Those approve the minutes from the May the 16th, 2019 meeting, say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. The minutes have been approved. This is the end of the meeting. Thank you all for coming out. Appreciate it.
Mr. Pratt, could I see your minute?